welcome to Lead Line, reminding you of your personal genius and how you think in order to actualize what you desire.
Hello, individuals, local, across the globe. We're so pleased that you're joining us here today. Today, Dr. Kwende and I are going to talk about the subject of releasing struggles, welcome growth generating challenges. And we'll get into more deeply what that means very quickly. But let me tell you what we discussed last year. And I hear a little bit of echo, so I don't know if that's me or Jack, if you can check that. But we understand struggle is real. And we also fundamentally believe that struggle at some level is a choice. Now, what do we mean by that? If you find comfort in your life and you're struggling, then there's a choice to continue to experience those conditions. The moment you're uncomfortable with that set of struggles, you are primed to actually change those conditions. Think about that. You may not agree immediately, but I want you to really digest what we're going to be sharing today. As we are about your health, your well-being, that's what this broadcast is about. It's free to you, whether you're local in California or you're regional in the western part of the US, across the planet. We have a number of you viewing from other countries. We're so honored. And so what we share with you is substance, purposely and intentionally to get you to a healthier place in your life, wherever that happens to be. And you define that. We don't define that for you. We just know the capacity of human beings far exceeds what most of us experiencing currently. And that includes myself. So when you decide that the current struggles are unacceptable, you're no longer comfortable with those struggles, you are ready to receive what you desire. And so the question is, what do you desire? Do you even know what you desire? I remember asking a very dear friend, I've known her for over 40 years. She's a remarkable woman. She's a medical doctor. I said, what do you desire? Someone gives you something, anything you want tomorrow. What is that? And she was shocked at the question, deeply appreciative of it, and said, I've never thought about that. And the good news is she could say, I have a loving husband, I have beautiful children, they finished college, and they're healthy, they're remarkable young men, I have the dream job. I have much of what I desire. Now here's what I really desire. And when she told me what that was, which is confidential, she may share it with the world, but that's not for me to do that. I realized I always knew that woman because what she desired is fundamentally a gift to all of us. So what do you desire? So know that the universe is aware of our struggles. I say universe broadly. Some of us say God in particular. Some of us say, as I do, Great Spirit. However we convey the omnipotent, all-knowing source of creation itself, it knows all the struggles. The question is, are we in the mindset to accept them as our fate? Or have we decided that this is just temporary and we get to move to a different space, a different paradigm, a different set of conditions because of choice? So we want you to entertain the possibility and dream of something to manifest that possibility of what we call the good life. And again, you define what good life is, not us. We want you to shift from the struggles to seeing that challenges may be a precondition to your actually experiencing whatever dream you decide to have. So we want you to learn how we do it. You may use the same techniques, path. You may use a qualitatively different. How many billions of people on this planet? There's potentially that number of different options. That's the beautiful power of choice. What say you, Dr. Kwende?
And that's very interesting about the struggles. I hope I'm not echoing, right? Am I?
You're on, yes.
Now, am I echoing? I hope not. I just want to make sure.
Just a little bit. And I don't know if it's the phone. Typically, when the phone is on, there's an echo. That's why I turned mine off.
Okay, I'll turn my phone on just to be
Okay.
on the safe side. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, when you talk about struggles, it's kind of interesting for me. The way that I look at life is everyone typically is in a struggle, and the reason I say that is that even though I feel like I'm doing well right now, but that's not where I want to be. I want to always be somewhere better, right? And I'm assuming that everyone wants to be somewhere better all the time. So in that case, where we are would be considered a struggle, right? I think about my mentors, even when they're winning, they have a much bigger goal than where they are, right? So in a sense, every one of us is kind of always, our current situation is the struggle because that's not really where we want to end up. Makes sense? So the challenge, the reason I see why most people really worry about struggle is why? Because they're focusing on their current circumstances, right? I focus on where I'm going. That's why I talk about vision all the time, right? When you focus on the vision where you're going, then life becomes exciting, right? No, no one is excited about just being where they are. But where I am right now is my struggle. Where I'm going, that's my vision. That's what I'm excited about. So if you really want to really deal with struggles, we have to first accept that everyone has some, right? We have different struggles in our lives. But that's the first thing. The second thing is how we think about the struggle. It's like looking at the glass. Is it half full or half empty? It's the exact same glass, but it's how we see it. If I imagine that my glass is going down, right, then it's different. But if I think it's filling up, then I look at the same glass differently. So that's how I look at struggle in a way. But it's something that we all have to deal with on a daily basis at different levels.
Yes. Yes. And I love that you mentioned the word vision. And not everybody knows exactly what that word means. So when you say vision, what comes to mind? What does that mean to you?
So vision is almost like, kind of in a way, it's almost like faith, but not quite. It's all of us desire something every day, right? But in life, we came here, each one of us as a blessing. You want to accomplish something before you check out. So whatever it is that you're striving to achieve, that could be your vision in a way. The things that you strive to do. I want to make sure that I make a difference in the world when I leave, right? So then I develop vision. What kind of difference do I want to make? I have kids. I want to make sure that when I leave them a whole different outcome than where I came from, right? We talk about wealth. This is called the Wealth Equation series. I want to make sure that when I check out, I leave for my kids way more than I was given. So that's my vision to leave for my kids more than what I got.
Yes. And when we say wealth, in the wealth equation, we're talking about those 5 F's, right?
Yes.
Faith, family, can't emphasize those 2 enough. Faith, family, and fitness, finance, and fun,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
And
becoming wealthy, frankly, is not just about having money, because that's how most people think about it. It's about having balance in life in those 5 key areas. So that's how we look at the wealth. It's not just kind of having money. A lot of people have money, but they're not happy, they're not healthy. We don't consider that wealth at all.
And in relationship to finance as a key part of those 5 F's, we want to remind people that this month is Financial Literacy Month. And Jet, thank you so much. He put in the comment section, and he's going to put on the screen in a few moments, the link. If you would like to get from us a free, emphasis on free, many people pay a lot of money to leverage, whether it's a financial advisor, a financial planner, we're financial educators. If you want a free, complimentary, personal financial session with us, please, when we get to give you substantive feedback. We review your finances in a way that empowers you with knowledge so that you can take where you're at, wherever that may be, and enhance it. If you're already doing exceptionally well financially, we help take you to the next level. If you're not anywhere close to where you want to be, and you are whatever the age you are, we help you understand what instruments may be available to you now for you to leverage. And during this month, there are so many different A and A plus rated firms, companies that we work with that provide a variety of financial instruments that are giving away remarkable benefits when people join this month. So if you're interested in learning about the financial tools that are accessible to you, that typically the ultra wealth use as a matter of course, where most of us are not even aware of it. We've never heard of things like Rule of 72. We've never heard of indexing. Those kinds of things are what we will share with you in this one-on-one or these small group sessions if you have a family and you want to learn about, for example, family banking. And some of you are looking like, what do you mean family banking? Say something about that, Dr. Martin. The
Yeah.
power
So
that we have as families.
yeah, yes, Dr. That's very important for me. This is part of why I'm passionate about helping families the way we do. um, every year, I'm required to do a medical health check, right? So I schedule time with my doctor, right? They go through all these tests based on my age. They give me different tests, right? And so every year I have to do that. And I have a whole record of my health, and I can track that over time and see what things need to change. Question for anyone watching right now: when is the last time you did a financial health check? When's the last time you went through a process where you looked at your finances and said, okay, I'm short here, I'm in excess here, and I have to fix something? This month, April, is called Financial Literacy Month. It's just a way of helping people be aware of the fact that we all need a financial health check from time to time. Right? So I want to challenge you to take some time this month. We have about 9 days left, and go get a financial health check. In fact, I don't want you to limit it to April, even though April is Financial Literacy Month.
Yes.
Whenever it is that you need to do that, you need to have a financial health check. That's for sure.
Yes.
Right? And one of the things that we do, we can help you do that. It's totally complimentary, but you still need one.
And the power of understanding these different tools, all of a sudden you realize, wow, I can actually build in a way. Bosco, my dog is chiming in. He's saying, absolutely, Dr. Martin Kwende is on point. You want to come over here and share, everybody? Yes. I love it, Bosco. One day I'll have him on the show with us and we'll interview him. Right now he's chiming in. And let me just tell you, there's nothing better than understanding where you're at. I mean, clearly, objectively, maybe uncomfortable, but at least you know. You're not walking around with a level of uncertainty that makes you even less comfortable. And then all of a sudden, what's even more powerful is to know what you can do about your circumstances. I've spoken, Dr. Kwende has spoken with multimillionaires, billionaires. We've spoken with individuals who barely are making it month to month. A number of individuals who lost their gigs last year because of COVID-19 pandemic impact on their businesses, where they were employed or they had their own businesses that they had shut down. Wherever you're at, the power of understanding it clearly and what options you have is invaluable, and then taking action that works for you. That's what this LEAD Live is always about. And LEAD stands for Leadership Excellence and Achievement on Demand. Not next year, not tomorrow, which we can't get back. It's now. How to leverage. And a very dear friend of mine yesterday, when I mentioned the word leverage, and this is a brilliant woman, let's be very clear. She said, what do you mean by leverage? Well, what I mean is we have expertise, we have knowledge, we share it with you. You use it, you're leveraging us. Simple as that. You have questions, we have answers. You have questions, I may not have the answer. I go to Dr. Kwende. He has the answer. I'm leveraging him. You use that information, you're also leveraging him. Let's say neither one of us has the answer. Then we go to the experts that we know with whom we work. We get the answer. We're leveraging other individuals. That's how we win. There are many of us who are isolated for understandable reasons. And some of us were isolated even before COVID-19 pandemic. We want you to know you're not alone. Leverage us, leverage others you believe has the information you need to move forward. I want to share a quote, a financial wellness quote. It's not my own, but I thought it may resonate. Financial wellness begins with saving money. Yes, I know some of us don't believe we can save anything, and yet we'll go down the street and we'll buy an ice cream cone for $6. Well, that's $6 that you need the ice cream. You wanted the ice cream, but you needed was something refreshing. Well, good water that's cold can be equally refreshing. That sugar that may be temporarily satisfying has a deleterious effect on the body if that's all you're taking in all day. So think about how to save. Do you need that extra pair of shoes that could save you $50? And then can you take that $6 that you save from the ice cream and $50 that you save from the shoes? Everybody else has them, but you decided, I really want to save that this month because I really don't have what I need for next month. So you save it. You not only save it, you put it in an instrument that actually generates more interest than your bank. Yeah, I know we need to have some accessible reserves in a local bank account. But just be aware, the bank takes advantage of those dollars as they should. They're a revenue generating business. They're profit oriented. So they place them in particular instruments that you and I have same access to. So what if you took that $56, place it in one of these instruments, do that on a monthly basis? Can you imagine what you may accumulate at 6%, at 8%, at 12%, at 25%? Yes, 25% does happen. And do it in a way where you have some security. Now, that's what Dr. Kwende and I will talk with you about. You want to add to that, Dr. Kwende?
Yeah, I actually, Dr. Webb, I define the wealth equation a little simply. And it's kind of interesting for me, kind of knowing that growing up, going through education, like you super educated, and they don't teach you the basic concepts of wealth building, right? I tell people that they told me to be strong, so I have strength. They told me to be knowledgeable, so I get knowledge. They told me to have faith, but they never told me about being wealthy at all. Not my parents, not my education, not my job, nothing, right? So I started to understand the concept, and obviously the concept of leverage, that's the key, right? You cannot become wealthy without leverage because you only have so many hours in the day, right? So the leverage is key in terms of becoming wealthy. But there's an equation for wealth, which starts with what? It says your income, no matter how you make it, either you own a job or you own a business, you're going to make income first. Then you subtract your lifestyle. Then that gives you your net savings. So when we do your financial needs analysis, which is what we offer you complimentary, we actually basically go through that process. We look at how much income you make. We ask you to document your expenses, your living expenses, whatever you spend money on. And then the net is your savings. Those savings, that's what you actually have to be able to place in some financial vehicle to start accumulating interest or whatever you have to do. But that's kind of the basics of the wealth equation.
Yes.
Now, there's some important things in that. I always say that most people, even when they think they understand the wealth process, they do it wrong. What does that mean? As soon as anyone starts making some savings, they start putting in some tool. They can put in a business, they can buy real estate, whatever, right? But okay, well, just think about it. If somebody just has 100 grand sitting somewhere and they go put it down payment, buy a house, whatever they do, but they put in some tool. What if their source of income stops?
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
somebody has a stroke, they have a heart attack, or something like that happens, and the source of income stuff that's funding their lifestyle, guess what? They're going to deplete the savings to fund their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then they can end up broke,
Mm-hmm.
even though they were doing everything right. So by understanding that wealth equation, which is why we talk about this, you have to first of all always protect your source of income.
Mm-hmm.
So when I talk to business owners, I'm like, hey, what's the most important thing you need to do to protect your business? They tell me it's kind of crazy. All of them say the same thing: liability insurance. I'm like, okay. So I ask everyone that what's the liability insurance on your income as an individual, right? So part of the wealth equation is really trying to teach ordinary people just to understand the process of how, no matter what means you have, no matter how much income you have, you can start creating savings and leveraging those savings in the right financial vehicles using the right strategies. That's what we're trying to do. Now, a lot of people struggle in life for a lot of different things, but the most struggles come from what? Lack of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, we talk about struggles, but guess what? Most people's struggles come from not having adequate money. So,
Relationship struggles,
exactly.
um, where to live struggles. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So, if we fix the money struggle, a lot of the other struggles disappear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For most people, unfortunately, 95% of the decision to do or not do something is based on whether they have money or not. What if we just brought that decision down to 60% of someone having to decide and not worry about money? That makes a huge difference in the quality of life that people have.
Massive difference. And I like the rest of this quote. By saving, you're buying your future.
Exactly.
By
Exactly.
borrowing, you're selling your future. Emphasis. Money speaks only one language. If you save me today, I'll save you tomorrow.
I like that. I
I
love
mean,
that actually.
I
Yeah.
mean, we're laughing, but we both experienced that. We
Mhm.
both have been in executive leadership roles working for organizations, you in Silicon Valley, me right off of Silicon Valley, you as an executive of a major medical device creation organization, creating devices for the body, me running a college as a president. We understand the power of influencing and making a difference and earning a pretty good comfortable living financially. But we also understand that even though we did pretty well, by social accounts, right? And society would say, "Oh my goodness, why'd you leave that executive role in Silicon Valley? My goodness, why did you retire from being a college president? What the heck? That's a dream role." And yet, both of us want to have a greater impact on more people, not
Exactly.
just discrete to a particular organization or just to a particular community. We love the organizations and their visions, their missions, their values, and affecting the community, but we want to have a bigger impact. And in doing so, we're not only having a bigger impact for those of you who are viewing, who hopefully are benefiting from this, but we're also having a bigger impact for ourselves because we continue to grow. We continue to learn. We continue to experience. We assume that we only know what we know. We don't know what we don't know. And so we're not constrained by an environment saying, that's enough. You don't need to know anymore. We're like, no, 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 no. We need to be completely aware of any kind of financial services industry is the most regulated industry in the country. We need to know what's happening in change of IRS codes. We need to know what's happening in terms of the states where we have our licenses. And so, because of that, we're here to be present, to be accurate, to be honest, to ensure that you can build and sustained and ensure a legacy for those you leave behind when you pass.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is why, really talking about wealth, this is one of the things that people don't talk about at all. Because it seems like we just kind of give up, right? It's like, hey, I'm done. I used to have a corporate job and I was doing pretty okay, but I didn't have time right? And I'm looking at my kids. I'm like, what can I really leave them? Yes, I have a PhD, I have an MBA, but I'm never going to leave that to them, right? So it's like we live in a society where you have to know the right knowledge. You have to know the right stuff. It's not just about having knowledge; it's having knowledge in the right areas, right? And sometimes I kind of think about it. It's for example illegal to drive a car without a valid driver's license, but it's absolutely legal to use money even when you don't know how it works. And say a lot of people struggle from not knowing what to do with their money, but everyone uses money every day. Everyone desires to be wealthy. Well, most people don't really want to be wealthy, unfortunately. Most people just don't want to have money worries. Right?
Yes.
Because when I ask people, do you want to be wealthy? They're like, no, that's not what I'm looking for. They just don't want to have money worries.
They want to have some level of freedom, yet no money worries. They want to be able to sustain their lives and hopefully build a family, sustain the family, and if they transition, know their family as well. That's what we're talking about, and more.
Exactly. And so that comes from the struggles in life really boil down to mainly a lot of times to the financial part. So us talking about the wealth equation, for me, this is a huge shift in learning that we bring into bear. And I hope that, this information, whoever is listening right now, that you're going to start processing for yourself why no one has ever actually sat down and explained to you how to become wealthy. How to have the freedom of not worrying about money on a daily basis. Right? We learn everything, science, engineering, and whatever. We'll never learn the basics of what really drives everything.
Yeah. And why is that?
Yeah, why is that? I used to share something called the 5 fingers, which is growing up, they told me that they're essentially what? 5 career choices just in general. Science, engineering, medicine, politics, and money. Just in a nutshell. And they also told me that if you are considered by society to be smart, you end up doing science, engineering, and medicine. And I started asking myself, if that were true, who is then left to do politics and money then? I call them the not so smart ones, right? But guess what? They're the ones that are actually having the money anyway. Right? So this is why at some point I told myself, money means influence. That's what that means. Money means freedom. You have more control. So the people that have the money control the money, what control politics, and then politics controls everything else. So I told myself I have to shift from the science, the engineering, and the medicine to the money, not because of greed, but because that's how I get influence to start making a difference. This is part of why, for me, I really truly had to shift from having my regular job to learning a little bit about money, about wealth, and starting to teach that to ordinary people in a way that is simple to understand. And this is why I love this series, Dr. Webb, that we've been able to really bring to the conversation in play, because a lot of people don't even have the chance to even talk about it.
Yes. And in fact, a dear colleague and friend, Tomoko, and I had a series, a seminar event recently, and we weren't surprised, and yet we should be surprised. We were not surprised that people had not heard of the basic terms that's considered to be common currency in our business. They weren't familiar with these terms. But more powerful, they weren't familiar with the different options they had available to them. They didn't know. And so a lot of us say we don't plan, and as a result, we're not successful. Well, a lot of people actually do plan. But if you don't have the right information, you can do all the planning in the world and you're still going to be in the same space, right?
Yep.
And that's why the power of leverage. We don't have to. I was talking to another gentleman, remarkable person who's in construction and maintenance, et cetera, just a remarkable man. And he said he just wished that he had listened to his father when he was a child. I think they're from Oregon, and his father was really practical and said, do this, and your life will be easier. He had to fight his father. He said, some of us just have to fight. And luckily his father's still here. So he's able to tell his father, and he's told his father, I really appreciate what you tried to tell me when I was younger. I just wish I could be open to receiving. And that's part of the power of what we do is a lot of folks are not necessarily wired to be open. They're like, suspicious. Anything money. And arguably, we've created that as a society. That's been contrived so that people don't get to the place where they can be financially free, where they can actually live day to day with certainty because they've got the right foundation. But what if we had a society that says, let's just open our books to our children, open our books to those that we value to help them move forward, open our minds to learning so that we build the foundation so that subsequent generations literally are continuing to learn because we left that legacy of financial education that is so critical. So yes, we have the sciences, we have math, which I always loved and adored, literally. We have the fine and performing arts, we have the humanities and social sciences, we have all these different, and yet at the core of our lives, if we don't have money or whatever the means of exchange is, in this society, it's money, we can't do all those other things that we've been inspired or encouraged to do. So, yes, I want to remind people, and thank you, Tomoko, for being here with us and saying, yes, free financial review. And many people do have to pay for it. It's expensive. And so people just, if they have the money and they really are thinking about it, whether they're 20 years old, and we've got some folks 18 years old, 20, 21, who are brilliant, who's like, give it to me. I want to set it up because I know if I do the right thing now, by the time I'm 61, I will be a multimillionaire. And people are like, that's not possible. We'll show you the numbers. We'll show you
Actually,
the illustrations.
yeah, it's interesting because the thing that attracted me to World Financial Group when I first got in, to interact was actually the personal financial review. Because I had a financial advisor. I realized I needed some financial help. So I actually paid one, right? But every year they would do a financial review. Then I paid them for doing the review. And then, I made my business mentor, Eric Olsen, and he actually did one for me for complimentary. I was kind of like blown away. I'm like, it's not the one that I got to pay for was not even the quality of the one that I got for free. And I was like so pissed off. I'm like, I have to share this with everyone. So I told him I need to share this with everybody. He said, no, you need the license. I'm like, hey, that's no big deal. I'm going to get a license. This is how my journey started. Just trying to help make it different. Because I was like, why does everybody not get this? Right? And that little step has totally changed my life.
Well, let me tell you, it has affected my life in profound ways. And and there's a part of me that says, be cautious because if you're too enthusiastic, people are like, that's not you. What's going on with you? Did somebody, grab you and inject you with something? Yes. But they inject me with some core information that I should have known when I was in my 20s, when I was in my 30s, when I was in my 40s. And it's the difference between the Rockefellers and their families, independent of the man himself who built a great deal of the infrastructure of this country back when, and on the backs of so many people. But it distinguishes the Rockefellers from the Vanderbilts, both extremely wealthy. And why are the Rockefeller family still very wealthy and the Vanderbilts have, for the most part, spent that wealth? It's because of the instruments that they use. And those instruments are codified in IRS codes. We can tell you the exact codes. And they're accessible to all of us. And people are like, can't be, it's too good to be true. I keep having people tell me that. Even those who have financial advisors. Why didn't my and then they go back to their financial advisor and say, oh yeah, that's possible. Well, why didn't you tell me? Well, there are a number of reasons. We won't go there. But we have
You know what's kind of interesting? This is true, by the way. When I learned about this information, I've never gone back to my financial company that I used to use. Like never. They called me, said I never went back there because I was so like, this is not even right. I never went back there. I still have some of the accounts still though, but I've never gone back there ever. But I made a commitment that I was going to see how I can help other people change their futures. And I know we started this by talking about struggling. The truth is, like, struggle is normal, right? But it's really about mindset. And there's a quote, I don't remember by who, but it says, I don't fix my problems. I fix my mindset, and then my problems fix themselves.
Wow. That's so appropriate for the first question. Jet, can you put up the first question? Thank you. How can you say struggle is a choice? Yes, I fix my circumstances, true, but some people can't do so, right? Powerful. And so I echo what Dr. Martin just said. It's all mindset. All mindset. Emphasis, not 90% what some people say. I say it's all mindset. The moment you decide that the struggle it's no longer important, what's important is a vision, a goal, a dream that you have operationalized in terms of a measurable goal. Then you pursue that, you take action, you leverage the information you get, you determine what's most useful, you keep taking action, you keep taking action, and before you know it, you manifest. And people are like, how'd you do that? Well, I saw you when you were struggling. And you're like, well, I just did this. You don't think it's magical. Everybody else is looking at it like, my God, I knew you when. And you're like, well, okay. Mindset. If you assume that that's where you belong and you're always going to be there, guess what? You can answer that.
That's what they talk about, law of attraction, right? You can attract things to yourself by how you think about them, right? You read, Think and Grow Rich. It tells you exactly the formula to become, free, but the process that you can do that. But it really comes down to discipline and how you think about stuff. But I keep hearing this, from my mentor. So it's like, hey, if you take the word attraction, okay, law of attraction, you can will anything you want. You can wish anything you want. But at the end of the day, you have to take some action.
Action.
So the law of attraction with no action does not work.
You got it. And I want to remind people of what we emphasize here a lot, and that is the power of the heart-mind connection. You can have that mindset, that vision that you've beautifully written down, but if you don't feel an emotional commitment to it, if you don't have a burning desire, forget about it. It'll be a beautifully written statement. It'll be a thought, and you may even talk about it to somebody once in a while, and they'll look at you 5 years later. Well, what happened to that vision? Well, I still have it. Okay, but do you feel anything? When you are emotionally wedded to that, whatever that is, all of a sudden, nothing gets in the way. It really doesn't matter how deep the challenge is, how deep the quicksand is, how seemingly impenetrable the wall is in front of you. You will master all of that because of the burning desire. Can't emphasize it enough. The next question, I think, is so apropos to what you just said. What do you mean by universe? I heard Dr. Webb describe universal laws, and that was in our last session. Do you really believe there are energetic forces that we can't see that are in play and that affect us? Absolutely, 100%. And I want people to think about gas. Yes, the gas that we use. If we as humans didn't put a foul odor in that gas, would we even know that it exists? Think about that. And yet we have faith that that gas has some utility. A lot of us have faith in God or in the Great Spirit or in the vibratory patterns of life itself, or that when I put a seed in the ground, it with the right nutrients and soil and cultivation with water and sunlight, it's going to emerge into, you fill in the blank. That's faith.
It's kind of, I don't know if I should say this, if it's because I have to think through it, but it almost feels like If you have no faith, then you can have no worries. I know it sounds kind of opposite, because the only reason you worry is because you know that something is going to happen, right? So if I say, hey, tomorrow I'm supposed to drive to Los Angeles, but I don't have gas, that means I expect that tomorrow is going to come. But that's faith, by the way. So we worry because it's a sign of faith. You have expectations, but you're afraid that expectations are not going to get met. Right? But the point is, most people want to be very clear about the expectations. So that's why they worry. But even the Bible says for that, without faith, you cannot please God. Which means if I am somewhere when my kids say it's on a foggy day and I want to drive home, I know that home exists somewhere because I was there already, right? But if I wait to see the home, I'll never go anywhere, right? You drive 100, 200 yards that you can see. Then you go around the corner, you're going to see the next 100 or 200 yards. That's how you're supposed to go. You're not supposed to worry about figuring out the entire journey. You just take the next few steps, figure it out, then take the next. That's how it works. So we worry because we want to know everything, and we're not supposed to. Just take the next few steps, trusting that you're going to know the other stuff once you get to, take 100 yards, then you look, then you take another 100. This is why, Dr. Webb, people say, oh, it's too good to be true. Because they're assuming that everything should be figured out all the way. And it doesn't need to be.
I'm going to say something about that. I've said before, and for emphasis, and that is the best kind of goal, the best kind of vision or dream, however you want to state it, is the one where you don't know the answer to how. So you're letting the universe organize, because it knows what level that you're vibrating at. It knows what you're feeling. It knows what you have in your mind. It knows what you are discussing. It knows what you've written down. It conspires to give us what we have asked for. And that's why it's so powerful and important for us to be clear about what we're asking for, because we're going to get it. Be it good, bad, or indifferent. The universe has no value judgment. It just aligns with each one of us. Yes, all the billions of us. And so at some point in our recorded human history, people didn't believe in vibration. And yet people would say, oh my goodness, when you get close to me, I just have this electrical current that goes through me. Vibration. Or we put our hand over a plant, and some people literally seem to have a green thumb. Well, vibration. And now we know through scientific work, we have validated the power of vibration, that it actually is real. And yet we can't see it, so-called, but we experience it. The law of attraction, we were just talking about that. It's not in just desiring something, it's actually taking action. The law of cause and effect. We know when we do something, we get a reaction. Why? Because that's just the nature of the universe. So there are some fundamental laws, and some we may never know in this life, but we come from all knowing, we go back to all knowing. And if we're quiet enough and receive and open enough, we get more of that knowing consciously as humans. Next question, Jet. Most of my life, I understood that I was destined to experience what the adults in my life did. Then I set out to determine what I wanted. There was more to this question. The person who wrote this said no at some point. Didn't want what the adults had experienced. Now, 10 years later, I've achieved everything I wanted. Wow. And there was more to the end of that, but it didn't fit here. So this person is manifesting, right, Dr. Kwende?
Yeah. The point is, in life, you get from it what you want from it. And those laws actually govern, how life works, right? And the laws don't fail. Laws usually basically work. So one of my favorite laws of nature that I like is the law of planting and harvesting. Right? And it's a biblical law, by the way, so it always works. Right? And it has maybe three components to it. And it says what? If you plant, you're going to reap. Okay? And whatever you plant, you're going to reap exactly whatever you planted. Okay? And the last part says what? Whatever you plant, you're going to get more of it. Okay? So if you plant corn, a grain of corn, you can never go just get a grain of corn. It has to come on the cob. So it cannot be just one grain, right? You're always going to get more. So whatever you plant, if you plant fear, you're going to get more of it. If you plant hope, you're going to get more hope. But you have to know that means you have power, but the laws are not going to fail. They still work. But you just have to understand how to make the laws work in our favor, right?
You got it.
Right.
You got it. The power of each of us, really. Yeah, it's remarkable. So we're not surprised that you've achieved everything. We're proud of you for choosing. So we could choose to follow others. That's choice. We could choose to create our own path. That's not inherently good or bad. It's all in what works for you. Unless, of course, a path is inherently good or inherently bad because of its impact on others or life itself. So choose what works that adds value. We encourage. Next question. I've been holding my breath for a long time due to what happened to Mr. Floyd, Mr. George Floyd, we know. Now the verdict is in, I can breathe a little better. What do you say to Black men when we are doing the right things? You want to start off with that?
um, yeah, it's been a little challenging, just kind of following, all the different happenings, right, in this country. But I believe that everything has its right time, right? And for this case of George Floyd, I don't believe that his passing was in vain, right? I think more people are paying attention, right, to these types of stuff than we've done before. And when I think about it, it's kind of challenging when I think I have little kids and I see how they try to respond when they see in society what is going on, right? But I can't stop them from doing the right thing. They have to do the right thing, right? Dying is not the worst thing that can happen in life. Okay, because one of the things that we are afraid of is to die. We're going to die no matter what, right? So dying is not the most challenging thing that can happen. It's actually finding yourself in a way that you compromise. Even if you're alive and your life is not straight, it's still not that good feeling to have, right? So I also look back in the Bible because that's what I believe in. There's nothing that happens good that did not have some pain attached to it. So
Yeah.
whether it's just dying on the cross or whatever, all good things have some pain attached to it. That's why people struggle, and you don't have to look at it as struggle. There's a price that has to be paid for anything to happen, right? So from that perspective, when I see things happen, I'm always looking at what the outcome is because if something bad happens, it's a price. There's a good thing that has to come from it.
Yeah, three thoughts came to mind. One, when you you achieved a major milestone, you and your wife last year, and you said, I was all in. I put all in. I actually had to give. I don't know the right language. I'm not going to paraphrase you well, so my apologies up front. But basically, you gave a great deal in order to get to where you were last year. And you're giving a great deal now to get to where you're going to be next year. And so, and then the other thought that came to mind was Mr. George Floyd's daughter. She said on the back of her godfather's shoulder, she says, with a big smile, was just absolutely overwhelming. My dad changed the world. And then the other comment, I mean, that needs space on its own, because the level of insight for that little baby, that mature spirit, was off the charts. And then I followed a lot of what was going on, just not in terms of the news. I didn't want to be inappropriately blindsided or directed, but I looked at the numbers. There was millions of people in the street protesting, over 1,000 different counties in the country, and it wasn't fully on display. And then, of course, beyond this country. And so what you said resonates, and it definitely was reflective of that. The third thing that comes to mind is Kobe Bryant's statement in Alpha Leaders, where he is what's attributed to him as rest at the end, not at the beginning.
I actually just saw that quote. And I like that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Engage, focus, take care of business. You have plenty of time to rest later. Now, that's metaphorically. That doesn't mean never sleep. It does mean living a life that is very focused, and you're unwavering. You don't compromise your values. You get there. And then you are able to take a moment and appreciate for yourself, for your family, for the community, for the folks and societies that you've impacted.
Actually, I kind of joke that way, but I tell my wife, she's like, "Oh, you work very hard." I'm like, I said, "Yeah," and you should sleep more. I'm like, "No." I said, "When I die, don't wake me up. Don't try." I'm going to rest then, right? But while I'm here, I have to do what I need to do.
Yeah, we're not suggesting live an unbalanced life. We're saying find that balance, but find a way to focus and be present and take care of business while you're here. There's plenty of time later, but do it in a way where you're striving because of your vision, your dreams, your goals. Next question. Oh, and I want to say something about Black men. I have brothers, I have cousins, I have uncles, I have loved ones who are Black men, and friends, past intimate partners, and I love you all. I am so appreciative that I have you in my life, including, in addition to the diversity of many others who are in my life. I just want you to know that your strength, your power, and that includes you, Dr. Kwende, and the way you show up for your wives, your children, your nieces, your nephews, for society, for businesses, for this planet is remarkable. In spite of or because of the horrific treatment that too often you're still experiencing, let alone the recent legacy of slavery and of other stuff that's happening across the planet. The fact that you show up and you show up with integrity gives me so much comfort. I'm so in awe of you and what you do because you can. And so continue to be your best, because you're an example for all of us. Thank you.
One thing I just want to say about that, it's just probably a point of encouragement. I'm not sure, but growing up in Africa, going to Europe to study, right, struggling with winter, coming to the US, trying to get a job and, kind of live life. One of the things that I learned was, because of who I am, I have to show up better. Okay. So when I show up to stuff, I'm always better. I know I have to be better just to be the same. That's my mindset. I don't know if it's right or not, but that's how I think. When I show up to stuff, whatever it is, I consider myself the underdog already. So I have to show up way better just to be the same. That's what I want every person that looks like me, that speaks like me, to do. When you show up, it's actually an advantage if you understand it, right? Yes, it's a challenge, but it's actually an advantage depending on how you see it. That's why we're talking about struggles. The mindset that you take to the struggle makes all the difference. I don't go into anything. When I used to go to a job interview, I make sure that I come across way better so whoever is interviewing wants me. That's how I thought about it all the time. So whatever you're doing, you show up way better. That's all you have to do. Right? And once you do that and you do the right thing, everything always works out. It's not what people see that is important upfront. It's what happens long term.
And I, growing up in a couple of the foster homes I was in, I heard that loudly and clearly, because you are the way people view you. They view you as X, unless you are twice as better or 2 or 3 times as better or whatever. Forget about it. And I've shifted that message a bit because I wanted it to fit me. It's not about me comparing myself to others to be better. It's about me being my best, my personal best, which may exceed that twice as better or 3 times as better. It is my personal best. That's why I continue to learn. I continue to connect with people like you. I want to show up in a way where I literally shift any aspect of my consciousness that may be stuck in some historical past that doesn't serve me or anyone that I care about, and that's everybody. So I value what you said, and I wholeheartedly agree. Show up, show up, show up, to show out in the most remarkable way, and I think that is part of the challenge, quite frankly. I mean, to be real with you, sometimes we do that, and folks who have hatred in their heart, unfortunately, until that changes, they will find that a major threat. So for me, the issue is being compassionate with everyone, even the person who embodies that hatred, because of whatever reason that I may never learn. It's not my stuff. Be compassionate, take care of business, because it's all about being our best. I know we're 3 minutes over. Was there any other questions, Jet? Oh, you're going to say something, Dr. Kwende.
I think Tomoko had a question.
Oh, Tomoko. Oh, thank you. Why do most people think being wealthy is impossible and laugh when they hear their kids say they want to be wealthy? Oh, wow. You want to take that one?
Yeah, the truth is that when you grow up, what you are told and what you see is what you expect to get. Right? So if I'm growing up and everything I hear is about struggle, we don't have enough, right? So I expect that there's never going to be enough. So I'm not going to expect to be wealthy, because if my parents were not wealthy, how am I going to do that? I don't know what that even means, right? So you almost have to switch your mindset significantly. And it's not just the mindset, you have to switch your associations, switch your environment to be able to have access. That's why probably having a mentor, a coach, that's critically important to changing where you are. And for me, frankly, even though I got educated and so on, having a business mentor, having a coach, that changed my life significantly. So most people, when they are where they are, of course, they're going to think the stuff is impossible, because it's like, why would they believe that it can work when they have no clue, right? And their kids don't have any limitations. I wish we think like kids. As a kid, I was like, hey, I'm going to be, whatever, right? I'm allowed to dream as a kid. But as soon as we get up, guess what? Over time, life kicks us everywhere. Then we start not believing in anything. We start not dreaming again, right? So it's just a process of life that makes people go like, hey, if I'm not wealthy, why would I think that my kids are going to be wealthy? Where are they getting that from? So it seems like, that's just a dream, right? I love the fact that I have kids, and I'm hoping, I was telling my wife the other day, I'm like, I love the fact that we've allowed our kids to pick what they want to do in life. It might be too early and they might never do it, but they behave way differently. They're more focused for the stuff that they say they want to do. And those traits are key to their success, right? I don't care what they really do at the end of the day. But the fact that they can pick something and commit to it and show up, every day, to that activity ready, that's what I wish for them.
Yeah. And when you said have a coach or mentor, the operative thing that we both understand and have in common is that it has to be the right coach and the right mentor.
Yeah.
Someone who's already achieved what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
Not someone who's thinking about it like you, who's maybe a few steps ahead, but someone who's already done it, been there, done it, can provide substantive feedback.
Yeah.
I think thank you so much, Tomoko. And then the last question, Jet, that was provided by an audience member before the session. Thank you for reminding us that we have the ability to improve conditions in our lives. My children witnessed this with us. Good. How do we sustain this so that if anything happens to us, they are okay? Wow. And that's what we're talking about, leaving a legacy. Let me give initial reaction because I think Dr. Kwende hit the nail on the head. He and his wife are doing awesome by their children. They're choosing to listen for understanding, to listen to what their children's dreams are. And if they're not dreaming, to help them understand how to dream, and then to complement them by giving them what they need in order to grow healthy physically, mentally, emotionally, so that spiritually they can take off. And so, by giving them the opportunity to experience preparing for their dreams, they're really cultivating that spirit, the essence of who they are. They know that the vista is theirs. And as Dr. Quintley said, they can shift, they can change. And so, if you're doing that in your own distinct way, you're on the right path. And remember, and you probably already know this, children don't listen too much to what we say, especially if it's not consistent with what we do. They literally look at what we do, doesn't even how we treat our significant other, how we treat the other child, how we treat people on the street, how we or don't treat them. They watch all that and they take on a self-image and not even consciously a lot of times, and they'll behave accordingly. I remember one of my godsons, and I won't mention his name, but years ago he was treating his mom in a way that was woefully insufficient and unacceptable. And I took him upstairs, said, go upstairs. Oh, I don't want to. Went upstairs, said, help me understand what's going on here. He was so revealing. He told me why he was doing it. He had witnessed it. I won't say the details because it's very private. But he had witnessed other men doing that to women. And I looked at him, I said, curious. So what does that teach you? And he didn't understand what I was talking about because he's so young. But I got him thinking, and that's the key thing. You want your children to think. You don't want them to just follow blindly. You want them to feel what they're thinking. You want them to understand that there are consequences to their actions. You do that, my goodness, you're doing that, that's awesome. And the other piece of this is, are you building things contractually with them? And that's part of what we would go over in terms of the financial analysis that we would work with you on. And I gave you a sneak peek, if you will, in terms of a family bank. That's one way to really leave a real legacy. You want to add to that, Dr. Kwende? I think that was the last question. Let me know if that's.
No, that was a great insight you just gave, right? About the kids copying what the adults and the parents do. Obviously, my personal goal is to be the best father that I can be to my kids in terms of creating a future for them that I do not have. Because, we say frequently, I did not come from wealth, but wealth can come from me.
Mm-hmm.
And my hope is that by doing what I do, I can create the next generation to have a whole different experience, to have impact in a way that is significantly more than I could ever even imagine. Right. So this is why we have this series, frankly, is to make sure that we can leave a legacy for the next generation so they can stand on our shoulders and go even higher. So my goal is that my kids should do better than me. That's the goal. Right. And that should be the wish of any parent. Right. And I love what we do here is really we're trying to help everybody else take it to the next level. Right. By understanding the key things in life and, being the best version of yourself, right? Not trying to compare. We have to compete to get better yourself, right? So I really appreciate the opportunity to be on Lead Live, and I appreciate your time always, Dr. Webb. And these conversations are very candid, and for me, I feel like I can truly be myself.
Mm.
Right? I tell people that in the regular life we trained. When you go to a job interview and you tell them the truth, you don't get the job, unfortunately. So
Mhm.
we train to tell little white lies to get the job. So we really
Mm.
never live our real lives in the regular job environment.
And the
But
power, yes.
yeah, so what we do here for me is huge, and sometimes people don't see it, but in later on, a lot of people are going to see why these conversations make all the difference.
Yeah.
It's a conversation we
Yeah.
should be having as a society frequently, having with our kids, with our spouses, right? Seriously. So I really appreciate the time that you put to make this happen. And I
It's an honor.
appreciate the fact that you're able to bring me on. So thank you very much.
It's an honor, Dr. Martin Kwende. And the core of what we want to remind people: be authentic, function with integrity all the time. All of a sudden, your life shifts. If you've got to tell a white lie to get something, then I don't care, and make it feel like it's okay because we call it white. Uh, Forget about it. Go where you are authentic, you are honest, you're living with integrity. If an environment doesn't fit you, you create the environment that will fit you. Emphasize that. You create the environment, or you go to an environment that works for you. There's enough people on this planet. There's enough organizations on this planet. There's enough businesses on this planet. There's enough environments, communities where people really care about truth and being authentic. So I want to thank you, Dr. Kwende, always for choosing to add value in a way that is so open, so authentic. And I want to thank your wife and I want to thank your children for influencing you in a way that edifies your spirit and continues to allow you to show greatness in the ways that you do through and with people. So
Thank you.
whenever I say gratitude to you, it's always to your wife and it's always to your children
We
and
appreciate
everyone
it
else.
very much. Thank you.
My honor. Okay, and thank you, Maria. We appreciate you too for listening. And yes, we're all about educating and take advantage. Please, those of you viewing, please take advantage of this link that Jet's going to put on the screen again. That's already in the comment box. Take a screenshot, go to that form, and literally complete it if you would like a complimentary financial assessment. We want to be of service to you. And when we say complimentary, there is no charge. And you decide to what you want to do with the information we give you. There are no commitments. It's all about hopefully a commitment to you enhancing the quality of your life, leveraging good financial information to build the asset base for your family. And remember, the wealth creation is what? Faith, family, fitness, finance, and fun. We want you to experience that balance. We know what that means. It's absolutely awesome when you can be silent and know you have that. Why don't?
Thank you.
Thank you.